Wow, think big, dream big, be big. All right, so we can chime in this morning and get some things done. I'm just gonna talk a little bit. Again, I was going to start off with inspiration because again, it's amazing when you start to think about being extraordinary. People think that's like complicated, but you know what? Extraordinary, just an ordinary person that's willing to do extra things. When you look at an eagle, because I was talking about eagles, I think eagles are amazing birds. Um, when you start to look at an eagle, you start to realize that an eagle is a powerful bird because an eagle can fly, was one of the highest flying birds. But imagine if you were an ordinary bird trying to be an eagle. One of the key things that's going to happen is you're going to have to really test your faith when you start to get to the altitudes of an eagle. Because you see when that eagle starts to fly and takes flight, its mindset has to change. We talk about that all the time. But then on top of it, it's not just its mindset has to change. It's also its lung capacity, how it breathes has to change. And then another thing that changes mostly is wingspan and its muscles. Now it's got to adjust its muscles to be able to climb to the heights that other birds can't even climb to. But the most impactful thing is you have to actually go in and there's to check its faith. Now imagine you're flying up at our highest altitude, you looking down. Your faith is being tested because now you're starting to see how high you're flying. But you also have to have the faith that when you look down, that you're going to be able to sustain that. So look, the higher you go in life, you start to build that eagle. Your mindset has to change. How you breathe has to change. Your wingspan and muscles and all the energy it takes to get there has to change. But then most importantly, your faith has to change. Right now, I'm asking you where you at. Are you being extraordinary or are you being ordinary? Because in order to be extraordinary, you got to change all four of them things. And you got to do it at a rate that basically is beyond anything else you've ever done. And I'm gonna tell you something. When you're an eagle, you always find yourself being in an uncomfortable position because in uncomfortable positions where you stretch and you start to grow. Look, we go chime in and kind of get started. So I'm excited about what we're going today. We'll talk about, but I want to just kind of drop out there and say, look, it's time to start being extraordinary. We give people time to chime in and we'll go from there. Let's go get it. Hey, I'm excited about everything God's doing and where I'm going. I want to see you at the top. What's up? Good morning. Good morning. I want to see can I pull this Jamal in.
Yep.
Jamal, you there?
Yep. I'm gonna
What's
I'm
up,
about
big
to
guy?
turn my light on in a second.
Boy, it's all right. Look, you gotta get that picture thrown out there, man. But always excited, man. It is Tuesday morning, brother. Another great day. Getting kicking off, getting started. Got some cool things happening right now, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But I was just talking about eagles, man. How eagles have to have the faith to fly so high. And I know a lot of people talk about what they're doing and where they're going. But some ordinary people do ordinary things, but extraordinary people are just ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things. So let me ask you a quick question. How's your week been?
How's my week being said?
Yeah, how's your week been? What you up to this week?
Oh man, just made $30,000 yesterday. It was a great.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. That's what I'm
I
talking
ain't
about.
lying.
So you know I'm gonna have to ask you in a few minutes how you did that. But I know you're always on top of your game. You're pushing, doing some stuff. Because I've been actually I had a huge deal I'm working on right now. But it's close. It's a huge check.
I
I like
know
them.
yours is a huge run.
Nah, I mean, I have some little small ones too, but at the same time, it's about how you look that. Like I just said, if you want to be extraordinary, you got them big deals, and that's what you're doing. You just made someone's salary for a year, man. So I'm excited about that, and I'm crushing some stuff too. But I think this week has been, last week was really challenging because I always tell people that it's not what you're coming through, it's not where you at, it's where you're coming through. And I
Right.
think that's a huge process when you start to look at where you're coming through. So tell me about your deal, man. What you had? You
Oh
got
yeah.
you
Okay.
got that fan circulating in the background.
Yeah, because I'm about to walk outside every morning. Like I get up so close to when it's time to go outside and do my morning walk, and I'm actually a little late, but because I had a long day yesterday. But no, basically on this deal, it was just a liquidation of two sisters. One sister wanted to liquidate her interest out of their inheritance from their mom home. The other one wanted to stay there. Sorry, let me stop talking until I can. Well, let me not stop talking. Let me just get outside really quick.
So,
But that was the situation. They wanted to liquidate, and yeah, they had enough equity in the house that I was able to liquidate one for 50. Well, both of them for like 50. One doesn't want to leave the property, so we gave them 12 months rent free. We're gonna pay off the mortgage. And she can leave or decide to take the other half when she wants to prior to the 12 months. And they were just, kind of stuck in between a situation where one says need the money, the other one don't have a car, and it just came up with that creative solution for them. So,
uh, I think the key thing you just said was important. Again, is a creative solution. A
yeah,
lot of people get that wealth is about a wealthy person is always solving problems, and if you want to become wealthy, you got to look at all situations, try to figure out how to solve a problem. What do you do when things that someone came with a issue and you're thinking about it, but the object of it is how fast can you figure out a win-win solution and kind of just make it happen. So I'll point out two things he said. One thing was finding the deals, first of all, being out there, being engaged, tapping on your channels, finding people that have problems. And then the second thing was most important. He said it wanted to create a win-win solution. So it was, how do I take this problem, turn it into a solution? And you did it by not only saying I'm going to correct your solution, but also I'm going to give you an opportunity for 12 entire months to stay where you are and make that happen. I've done deals like that all the time, and I think those are some of the most creative deals. The only challenge I've had, and I'll tell you, the only challenge, the major challenge I've had with those deals was I did the same thing. I had a house that I bought, and I didn't want to buy the house. I really wanted to help the gentleman that I was buying the house from. He wanted to sell it, and I was like, I think you should hold on to this because I believe in legacy. And so it wound out that we worked it out. Whereas I gave him more than he was asking for, but I actually took some money and put it back in escrow, and that escrow money was to make sure that I could send him a check every month. So I'm dropping a nugget. So I basically bought the property, took some money, put it back in escrow, sent him a check every single month, and then turn around and he was able to stay there for a low rent rate. So he got not only got a low rent rate, he also got an extra check every single month. That became a win because it created income for him. He had a really really low rate, and he solved his problem of wanting to cash out and do something different. So again, it's all about find that solution, find that problem, then figuring out how to make that a win-win, and then on top of that, going back and figuring out how you can do something that's creative. So that worked out for me, Jamal. I'm glad that deal worked out for you. How'd you find it?
I was at a restaurant. The lady saw my car, and in that situation, her mom had just passed away. She was going through some family issues with, her daughter, and she was like, I don't know what to do. We just have what we got, right? My job isn't really making enough, but technically, I was just out at a restaurant and here in Charlotte.
Wow.
And the funny part was, if I didn't go, I picked the restaurant. My cousin kept saying, "Let's go to Buffalo Wild Wings." I was like, bro, we're not going to Buffalo Wild Wings. We're going to Clutch.
That's what
And,
I'm talking about. So this week
yep,
I had some interesting conversations. I'm gonna drop something on you right quick because we were talking about, and this is like a major thing about residual income and how do I figure out,
right.
when it's time to retire, what retirement looks like. And someone said they can't retire, and I was like, well, I think you're looking at the definition term wrong. And there's nothing wrong with and all people who know me when I'm out here mentoring, and I'm basically driving people, trying to get people to understand what we're doing and how we're doing it. When I'm out here mentoring you, the first thing I tell people is that I got to rewire your mindset. I can't take new knowledge and dump that new knowledge in an old mindset. So I want to drop some nuggets right quick, but I also want to tell you to rewire your mind a little bit how you thinking because it's always in the definition. So one thing I want to talk about when I talk about residual income, let's talk about first how that looks and how do you retire. So when you look at retirement, retirement in the old mindset is based on age and a number. It's normally 65. But let's think about it a little bit different. Let's rewire your mindset. Let's take it in your mind and say, you know what? To retire is going to be based on taking all of your existing debt and come up with that number. How much every month are you spending on your debt? What are you paying out every single month? And then you take residual income. Now, residual income is money that you're putting time into something, and you get residual money, residual income back from it. You're putting time in it one time, but you're getting residual income every single month. You can almost expect that money to come in unless something major happens. That's residual income, and I'll even put in the chat coming up soon the actual definition. But that's the concept. So now here's one thing I'm gonna ask you is: once your residual income exceeds your debt by three times, not one, but three times. You want to make sure you got that safety net. Now I'm gonna ask you a question. When you did it, when it's three times, well, let me say when it's one time, when you've done it one time, you can ask yourself. Now you see what it looks like to pay your debt out of your residual income. Now you go multiply that three more times. Yeah, let that sink in three times. Whatever you did to that first residual income, to make that residual income, you do it three more times. And what happens is now you should be at a point to where you can retire, because if your debt was at 2,000 and you made 5,000 in residual income, that's 3,000 extra you got a month on top of that. Now go do that three more times. Now that's three times that three, that money is now gravy. So the question I'm gonna ask you, if you've done that three times, you have maximized your residual income. Why are you still working? Why not take 100% of your time to now going out and duplicating that effort over and over and over? I call it wash and repeat. That's all you do. So again, your number has to be whatever your number is. Now here's the only thing that destroys your retirement. You go out here and you start getting liabilities. That's a whole other conversation. Or you start getting assets that aren't making you any money. Or you start doing things that are ordinary, not extraordinary. Because you start to climb to a height, but you're not an eagle, you're being a dove. And you start basically creating more debt, but not more residual income. I want you to let that sink in. You start creating more debt. Now, when God takes you through something, He always blesses you. But you can't go turn around and say, you know what? Now I'm making a little bit of money. I'm going to buy me a new Maserati, or I'm going to buy me a bunch of Chanel bags. I ain't knocking neither one of them. But what I'm saying is, they 9 to 10 they ain't paying you, and they're not doing anything at this point in the level for you. So what I want you to do is realize how to go in and basically add that, change your mindset and bring that to the forefront. And when you're doing that, now you're changing the game. And I just showed you how you can actually retire. I'm so excited. We got Tamika, you on. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm
We
pretty good. How are you guys?
doing great. You were just tapping in and we were talking about residual income. And
Yay.
I'm excited about that. And this I was telling people about the mindset shift and how you actually go in and you're able to drive out and do some different things. Let me see. I got I think Derek is sitting out in the waiting room too. So I pull you in, Derek. I see you out there. Let me know if you're chiming in. Are you there, Derek? I think you're in there. I want to change that layout. It's always technology that tells you an amazing thing until you try to use it. But I got Derek dropped in, and Derek, I know if you can you hear me, Derek? Are you out there? I think you're on mute. All right, I think you're on now. Hey, Derek, you out there?
Yeah, can you hear me, Chris?
What's up, Big D? How you doing,
I'm good, man. Good morning.
man? So we just talking about real estate. We were talking about just now about that retirement, what retirement looks like, and changing that mindset. So I'm gonna just ask you real quick, Tamika, how you feeling? So you at the social, you've been getting this knowledge, and second, how you feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful. Super excited about these calls. I don't even get up this early, but I'm ready and rejuvenated and ready to get this info and this knowledge.
Well, this is where you get up. This when you get up early, all those juices start flowing in your mind. So I tell people your most creative ideas come at the first 30 seconds when you wake up in the morning. So the one thing I tell people, I have a little pad beside my bed, and every time I wake up, I'm writing. I got a whole list of ideas, and so that's where all this comes from. When you see me doing things like,
Yeah.
uh, that how'd you buy a commercial building? How'd you get that extra wood house? How'd you start that communal or that Airbnb? It happened because again, I wake up and I write down everything that comes to my mind. And
Yeah.
then one of the key things I do is I ask God every morning. I say, "Good morning, Lord," and then I ask God, "Show me the people I'm supposed to bless today. What am I supposed to do different?" So, Jamal,
Nice.
so Tamika, you got on the line. You got Jamal. Jamal, tell me what you do, Jamal.
So basically, I wholesale land, market to vacant landowners, contract those deals, and then I sell them to home builders, and I collect a big check.
That's it.
Nice.
Hey, look, Jamal. We just talked earlier. Jamal made $30,000 this week. So not I had a big win this week too. Mine came from a developer deal we were doing. So I'm excited about that, getting some of that cash back. Tamika, right quick, tell about what you do, Tamika.
Yeah, sure. So I own a financial services company, Porter Financial Services. We specialize in tax prep for individual and business payroll, bookkeeping, and a host of other services, business setup, business consultant. So it's your accounting and financial services. I call it a one stop source for both accounting and financial services.
Wow. Now I'm
And I'm
gonna tell you.
local. So I'm not just local to Charlotte. I have clients across the United States.
Wow, you guys, look, I would tell you, my ear is like ringing right now because me and D just had a conversation about this yesterday about infrastructure and setup. Tamika, that's amazing. We gotta get together and on next Tuesday morning and really talk just about because I'm these sessions where you fire off questions and you really get to ask questions and we talk about it. And
Hmm.
one of the key things I'm always telling small business owners, people getting started and building wealth, it's not
Hmm.
about what you do, it's how you structure yourself to do it better.
Yeah,
And she just talked about financial services. If you're not, let me ask the question: how many people you meet on a daily basis that have a business but not paying themselves?
several.
And that's not good, right?
Nope, it's not good at all. It's not good for tax benefits, but it's just not good legally. You're supposed to pay yourself a minimum of at least 30% of your net profit.
Say it again.
30% of your net profit should be paid to yourself.
Let that sink in. So I'm gonna tell you, we gonna have some our next Fireside chat next week. I'm gonna ask Tamika to come back and we could just talk specifically about the business itself because if you're not structuring your business correctly
Yeah.
and you're not set up in a way that helps your business grow exponentially, you're losing money. Again, I'm gonna tell you, wealthy people have opportunities to access to things that most people don't even think about and consume. And I'm gonna tell you, when you start a business, you really want to focus on how your business is set up and how you're structured and how you're using all these benefits. And if you're not doing bookkeeping and accounting,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's a problem.
It's a nightmare for tax season, so why not just do it monthly?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Your systems will make you successful. So D, tell them what you do, D.
Yeah, Chris. I'm a by day, I'm a senior technology manager for a benefits administration company. By moonlight as a real estate investor, I try to my goal essentially is to acquire properties I invest in turn either rent out or flip. So yeah, right now I'm just trying to build my portfolio as I discussed with you. I'm trying to now move into the commercial side of the house a little bit and expand into that field. So that's my goal and that's my aspiring to right now to make my exit off the plantation and fully.
I like how you said that. So D, right quick. I know we're having a conversation, so I'm gonna let y'all in a little bit because, again, I'm always talking to mentees and really trying to drop some knowledge. We're not going into all details,
Yeah,
but yesterday we had a mind blowing conversation. Was not amazing?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so we went into ways to um, set the age for when you want to actually make that exit and have a plan put together to aspire towards that and working towards that while you're working so you can see it coming to fruition as well and gradually making that exit. So
Now,
yeah, making that come to fruition is definitely what I'm
now
looking
didn't
forward
didn't that make a lot of sense? And I give you some background, a little bit of background. We were talking about when you start looking at building wealth, and everyone think I keep telling people that wealth is a real estate is a component of wealth. It's not the wealth itself. It's a component. And whatever you're doing, when I talk about winning mindset, because everyone says, "Oh, Chris, I want to do real estate." I'm like, well, I don't just do real estate. I build wealth, and building wealth, real estate is a component of it. And the key thing about real estate now, my son always asks me, "Well, Dad, I want to be like you. I want to be you today." And I'm like, "No, you want to be better than me." So I bought a lot of houses, and I wanted him to do something that was more cooler. I wanted him to be able to buy doors, and when you're able to buy the doors, you're able to do it a different way, and it makes a lot more sense. And so,
buy the doors,
I got
you have to
feedback.
do it way. And cool. I
It
want
makes a lot more sense.
and
Somebody
so
got some feedback.
buy the doors,
I think that was
you
Sharon.
do it way. And cool. I want a lot more sense.
Hold on, I'm trying to figure it out. Yep, that was Sharon. And so cool about buying doors, because again, when you get into real estate at this age, and we were talking about, when I was talking to Deal, I was talking about age limits. So when I was 26 and I started, my mindset and how I did it was totally different. So if you ask me to take what I've done today, and did at 26 and start today, my answer to you on how to get started would be totally different. So you have to really step back and analyze, what age am I at? What finance, and that's why when I do my training sessions, I always tell people we go through this thing called A, B, C, and D. And you'll see that in my charts. A is being accepted when you are, B is being broken, C is change, and D is when you reach your destiny. But A is the most powerful one, because you have to accept where you are. And what that means is you identify how much money you got. If you ain't got none, it's okay. If you got some, that's even better. If your credit's bad, what your age is, and then what your age level and mindset is, all that plays a part in the next level of getting into the true game. Because at 26, I had a whole lot of energy, had a whole lot of time. I could work all day and then work half the night and get up the next day and do it all over again. That ain't happening now. So if you ask me to go call on somebody's house right now, I'm like, nah, bro, I ain't doing that. I'll go up on there. I don't have a problem, because I'll do anything. I don't have a problem. But I try not to call up on the house now. So, but at 26, man, I was doing everything. Sheetrock. It didn't matter what it was. Bookkeeping, the accounting. I was the marketing. I was the realtor. Everything. So, but that changes. And so we were talking yesterday about saying that number, and all those factors play a part in what are you doing today. So if you're today, if I want to be me today, I'm gonna drop a nugget. If I want to get to 100 houses today, and I was starting today, I would do it differently. And the same thing I tell my son, I would go out and start looking at doors, how to actually buy doors versus houses. And that's doing a larger portfolio of looking at how to take my existing properties and turn them into more doors. And then I would probably look at, if I didn't have access to cash, and with all the skills that I got now, I'd be looking at OPM. Now we're gonna talk more about that later, because I ain't going today. But OPM, we drop into OPM and figure trying to use other people's money to basically lend and become the bank. AD, that bank model I dropped in yesterday, was that not high?
Absolutely, yep. I appreciate that for sure. And like I said, I'm gonna work to put that in action, and have that as a testimonial.
That is, I'm telling
Yeah.
you, it is amazing. And Tamika, we can talk about it later, Tamika. But I'll tell you, it starts up what you were talking about was paying yourself and becoming the bank in the long run, and it just works. So look, I'm gonna open it up. Tamika, what questions do you have? You want to drop? You want to drop in the fireside chat? We can see if we answer and share around the room and grow some. You got any questions? You or D or Jamal? You got anybody got one? Let's fire off. Let's see what we got this morning. Give me a hard question.
A hard question. You know what? You said wealth is a well, real estate is a component of wealth, and I'm thinking, you know, I've always wanted to do something like you said. When I want to exit, do something that by this age I don't want to be doing anything else again, or it's hard, or I'm too tired to do it. I've been thinking about buying businesses.
There you go. Look,
Yeah,
that's again, wealthy people do have a. But once you get to a point that you can use your talents to exceed what you're doing, you start looking at being a blessing. When I talk about think big, dream big, be big, being big is not about money. It's about being a blessing. And sometimes, and I can't talk about it right now, but I got some stuff where I'm doing the same thing. I'm actually now looking at funding businesses that will operate beyond me, meaning that I found
right.
some people that have some talent, and they're not in real estate, but they have passion and dreams. And so I'm taking the opportunity now to take the skills I have and invest in them. So investing in their vision and their dream, and they're not in real estate, but now that's a new arm, and I give them all my skill sets. I take them back, the same thing I did. Go back to like Tamika and say, Tamika, let's set this business up right. Let's make sure they're paying themselves. Let's get their accounting, their books done, and it becomes an easy ride. But they're doing their talent and their dream. So Jamal, I think that's a key piece of you building wealth and creating that residual, because that's a residual check every single month. They're following their
Right.
passion. I've invested in, and I gotta get my return. And the one thing I tell everybody is, again, know the rules. Whatever business you decide to start, you gotta know the rules. Second, make sure you got the mindset that you're actually gonna take the same integrity you have in whatever you're doing, apply to that. And then find people that are just like you, that are hungry and that are willing to make that change. Because again, when you buy a business, you accept a responsibility in that business, and you want to make sure that you're
Right.
buying something that's going to be uh, financial proof, as far as like on the financial curves and things going to happen. So I think that's an amazing idea.
You know what? The reason why I say that, and when I say that, I didn't think about the person who fit that example, right? But we watch it all the time we watch Shark Tank all the time on television, and
Yeah,
those guys sit there and they buy businesses. And Mark Cuban started in, I want to say the internet, what do you want to call it, right? The internet space. And he sold his company to Google. I'm sorry, Yahoo. But then he turned around and bought the Mavericks. He bought a business,
yeah.
and his wealth exploded when he bought another business.
And that's the key thing I tell people. Again, I tell people all the time. My mentor, how I got started in real estate. Everybody thinks I got started in just buying houses. I really didn't. I was telling D yesterday. I didn't get started in just to start buying houses. My whole mentorship and my whole drive was finance. I learned finance, and then I learned real estate. So if I can't tell you anything, what I'll tell you is, once you learn the difference between finance and economics, it changes your life. It changed. You really start to understand. If you think you're doing real estate now, spend 35 minutes with me and let me talk to you about economics. And I'll change how you look and how you think about everything that you're doing, because that's my baseline. That's where the banking concept comes from. That's where OPM comes from. I mean, those are all components of real estate, and you hear real estate guys talk about it. But when you start talking about how finance actually works and how you use the leverage to build an empire, you start realizing real estate is not the wealth. The wealth is how your mindset calculates and understands wealth. So, what's your feedback on that, Tamika? What do you think about that statement?
I think that's a great idea. And of course, I always push using OPM. And then Jamal mentioned purchasing businesses. Turnkey businesses is a huge deal in Charlotte. I have a business owner who helps broker the deals. So when a person is interested in buying a business, he actually helps from start to finish, and he outsources the accounting and the finance throughout the whole process. So he helps with the beginning of the process to the end. And so that's an actual segment and industry that is huge now in Charlotte. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's no frills business. It's less work and it's not labor intensive. But you are set to receive big rewards and big profits because the business are already functioning, and
There
then
you go.
that team actually does all the grunt work to make sure that when they hand you that key, you're walking into the well-oiled machine.
And that's it. And if you know the rules and you apply all the same rules, just like Tamika said, you're buying something that's already started. You're not recreating the real wheel. And I tell people all the time. And so I'll give you a perfect example. So I'm vertically integrating. We can talk about what all that means now, but in my business, I'm actually doing a lot of vertical integration. So when it comes to, once you get into the whole portfolio, you really want to start looking at, how do I take and vertically integrate all my systems, and that could mean buying a business. So if you're once you get to a certain amount of properties, you're a property manager, whether you like it or not. So either you're going to expand and buy a property management company, or you want to expand yours, vertically integrate. I mean, that's a key thing that most successful businesses do. And I'll tell you also, again, you can I always tell people, I try and find things that are in my lane. Now, am I gonna go buy a business in Alaska that I have no idea anything about? No. I want to make sure I find something that I can learn. I'm interested in, and also see that there's a proven track record, and you've got someone that is knowledgeable and that just has just as much energy and hunger as you do, and they just need that push or that drive, or you're buying that business, and now you gotta bring all that to the table. So again, I think it's amazing, amazing way to look at it. I hope Jamal answered your question. Hey, Big D, what question you got, D? I know you got a question, and I know you can probably hit me with a developer question. 'Cause I know that's where you're going to. I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you, I'll take it this morning. What
Yeah,
you got?
when you talk about structuring deals, you look forward or you try to look outward. Would you suggest creating a separate LLC for each property acquisition, and then further down the line to protect yourself in the case of maybe lawsuits or something like that? Would you protect the assets by parking them into under trust and so forth? So structuring the deals to not only protect yourself um, against litigation or potential litigation, but then also from a tax structure standpoint, would you suggest a LLC per acquisition or bundle them all under one?
So I'm gonna take that from two different sides. And Tamika, I'm gonna ask you a quick question about and see what you think about what you've seen people do, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. But if you definitely and so I'm gonna formulate your question towards commercial, because I know that's one thing you're asking.
Right.
If you're buying a commercial site, I would tell you personally, make sure that your liability is how you protect yourself is key. That entity should be inside of its own entity. If it is a shopping center or a large commercial, it should be inside of it. I don't even think you get the financing if it's not inside the right entity. So that's the first thing you want to do, is make sure that you understand the rules and make sure you get yourself covered from a liability standpoint, and you have putting that entity in, putting that structure inside the entity. And I tell anybody, when you start that, and this is, again, I'm giving you the 30,000 foot view. There's a lot more conversation we got to have inside of that. But yes,
Right.
chosen the right entity setup, and that's an LLC, or looking at an S corp or C corp. But I would tell you, I would start off with an LLC to get that set up. But I'll tell you why I say that in more detail. Then second, you also will look at making sure that you have, if you start to acquire wealth and acquire assets, I will tell a lot of people in our community, we don't talk about a lot, but trust. It's not
Mhm.
about where you are today, it's where you're going. We're given 2 points, and we don't like to talk about. One is when we're born. We celebrate that all the time. Everybody on this call probably celebrate their birthday. But here's the one thing I tell you: we don't talk about that other gift that we've been given, and that's death. You will leave here at some point. Everyone that you know, I promise you, will leave here at some point. But here, there's a study, and I want to get the numbers right. There's a small percentage of people that plan their wealth around death. And that's the one thing I'm always telling people. You guys look at the end just as well as you look at the day. So how well you plan sets your family up and creates that legacy. And a lot of times in minority communities, we don't have a legacy mindset. So that's important about making sure that you not only put your that you're basically putting you're looking at the setup of your entity, but then second, making sure that you set up a trust, so that when you pass, everything is handled the way it should be and done properly, and you're not getting caught with estate taxes, or your property going back to the state because no one knows what it is, or they get into a issue where Jamal talked about earlier. Your siblings or your wife or family members whoever left behind don't understand what they're doing with it, and it kind of gets in the wash of them selling off for pennies because they couldn't manage it, or it wasn't covered properly. So, Tamika, you want to chime in on that?
I would absolutely agree with you on that. Like you said, the biggest takeaway from that is the liability protection. I have clients who have set up umbrella LLCs under a trust, and then a trust is a defined set of rules as well as protections for your business for the future. Like you said, people can put entire assets and kids under there. So it's definitely the new route. Our community does not have enough information on trust. So a lot of people do not even inquire or set one up because they think it's expensive, or they think it's a lot of red tape and they don't understand the rules. But um, Sharon and I are in a separate group, and we talk about those actual topics. Wealth building, using insurance as generational wealth as well.
Yeah. Oh, time out. Stop.
Unfortunately.
Time out. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Drop that note because we're gonna be talking about that too. Uh, one of the key things that we miss out on
Uh-huh.
is how to use insurance policies to generate
Yep.
wealth. Now, I tell you, that's out there. Do it the right way, but I'm telling
Mhm.
you, it is amazing. And then on top of that, self-directed IRAs. I'm just dropping some knowledge out there. We can talk
Yep.
more about it, but those are key. Go on, I didn't mean to cut you up, but
Oh,
that's something that people
yeah.
miss out on all the time.
That word right there, because like our community, of course, we have been trained to purchase term policies. We don't understand using, insurance as a whole, as a part of generational wealth. The three forms of generational wealth in America are real estate, insurance, and investments. So you should have a diversified portfolio utilizing all of those assets. And so
See,
that's a huge
oh,
enough
that goes
jump.
back to what I said earlier. Again, real estate is only a component of building wealth. It's not.
Yep.
It's not the holistic part, and that's why I think a lot of people get twisted or get mixed up on. I'm like, guys, pump your brakes a little bit because I don't want you to think that you're going to get wealthy just off real estate. Because until you understand how to use it in a Jamal, I think we were talking, Jamal. We had a conversation about knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge being what you know, and wisdom being how you apply it. Again, if you just jump in on the real estate side and think that's it, no, it's more. And you got to expand your mind. So I tell people all the time, you've got to continue to grow at all levels to understand how to build wealth and do it in a way that is exponential. And that's understand how to use all these tool sets. Because I'm gonna just ask the question: do your research. If you're doing investing and you're at your prime age and you don't have a self-directed IRA account and a 401k plan, a self-directed IRA account. We'll figure out what that looks like. Hit me up, DM me. We'll talk more about it, and we'll catch it on one of our Thursday sessions where I'll actually dive in deep. I'll bring an expert online, and we'll do interviews because we're about to start doing our interviews where we'll start talking about specific topics that we chime in on here, but really going deep in that conversation. So, what is a self-directed IRA account? What's the right insurance vehicle to kind of drop in, and then bring in other guests from other groups to talk about it. Just like what Tamika said, there's other people out there talking about it. You've got to learn as much as you can and figure out how to apply it to your life and your strategy to make sure you're doing the right thing. So, D, I hope that answered your question,
Definitely did. Thank you both.
man. So
Course.
we go. I know we get close to my time for the chime out, so I'll take one quick other question or comment, and we got to close this one out.
Mm.
Anybody got one? Who just came
I
on? I know.
yeah. Go ahead.
Hold on,
My bad.
who just came in? Who was the last person?
That was probably me. Chris, I was hearing everyone, but I don't think you could see or hear me.
Yeah.
This is Sharon Scott. I'm glad to be a part of this fireside chat. Um, I am trying to figure out how to keep from going in too many directions at once
Wow.
because once you get this knowledge, you want to explode it and make it happen. So I need to figure out, I guess, how do I, get started with focusing on one or two and then go forward?
Well, I'm gonna tell you first of all, yeah, Sharon was one of the first people we started off with Fireside Chats about 2 years ago. We're not amazing, Sharon. We were doing,
Beyond amazing. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm just happy to be a part.
and so when we started to get that, and that was the foundation was getting out to answer questions. Because again, I tell people if you want to learn, get in the community, and when you're in that community, you really start to pick up the right nuggets. So again, it's just like to answer your question, answer directly is I'll tell you first of all. Distractions are the most powerful detractors to any investor, anyone building wealth. And what do I mean by that? If you're constantly watching the news, if you're constantly watching these ads, and you're not mastering what you're doing, you're being distracted. Because if I tell you right now we can make $1 million going to do this, and you jump off and go do that, then I tell you by the time you get there, you can make $2 million doing this. You're not focusing your time. You have to figure out what is your passion. I tell people once you find out what your passion is and your talent, and you take those two and marry together on an idea and a vision that God has given you, you will be on the pathway to making money and being wealthy. And that's one thing I'm always focused on. I tell people I have a three-pronged triangle. If it's not community, if it's not real estate, and if it's not tech, if it's outside of those three circles, I'm really not paying a whole lot of attention to it because I know how easy I am to get distracted, and I try and stay focused. So to answer your question, how do you stay focused? I'll tell you one thing. cut off the TV, focus with your, and the second thing is read and educate yourself on the things that excite you, that are in line with what you're currently doing, that really hone in on your skill sets and your talents. And then third thing, get around people that are talking just about that and not all this other stuff. Everybody can sell you a pie in the sky, but the question is, can they deliver? So when I talk to people, I'm always talking about wealth. You'll hear me talk about wealth. Now you will hear me talk about real estate, because real estate is a core of what I do, and it's in my triangle. But I tell people, it's I'm very focused on what I do. You're not going to get me tomorrow to go out and start buying cars. That's not what I do. That's not my talent. And I'm not saying that that's not your talent. But if that's your talent and that's how you build wealth, I say go for it. But I'm not going to go out tomorrow and start buying cars. I may come to you and buy a car, but I'm not going to try and sell cars, because then I don't want to stretch myself too thin, and I want to drive home and what I know is going to make me successful, that's in my vein, and that's in my wheelhouse. Now, I don't want, I try and tell people I'm not trying to ride the fence, because I don't want you to go out and say you can't do multiple things at one time. But I always tell people, master what you're doing so that you can be the best at it and you can drive it. Anybody want to chime in on that topic and say, what's your thought process on it? D, I know you've been out there for a while. What's your comment on it, D?
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, I kind of feel um, which Sharon, her sentiment, and maybe stretching yourself too thin and going in multiple directions. So the concentrated forces, I feel, is a diligent approach to start. But once you do get to the point where you feel that you can expand your wings, so to speak, is that where more so you leverage your team to help in that expansion to maybe other services or areas where you can expand your portfolio. I think maybe that's where the team building and fostering relationships really helps and managing that. So just a little bit
It's right.
tip.
Let me dive a little deep on that question, because we got like about 4 more minutes. So Ron, let me ask you a quick question. So when you say you're getting pulled in so many directions, is that in your current model? Because I know your current model has been um, some flips, and now you're getting to the whole side. Is that? Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Sure. So, of course, I actually started the other way. I would acquire and hold for the longest, and then I tried the flipping, and like you said, you have to find what you're good at. I don't really like that flipping side. I like the hold side. So, I kind of want to stick with what I've done and has always worked. But of course, you have to pivot with the times. And
Mm-hmm.
so I find it like when I try to do that pivot and grow, I'm so distracted by the so many things or so many ways, so many options that I'm just like, okay, so which one is it? Which one should I go into first? Yeah, this is a great idea. I could be good at that. And then I just kind of get stuck, like just kind of grinding in the same spot.
I tell you quick, anybody who tells you that, I think that, and I totally hear that, because I get it all the time. Well, let's jump on Airbnbs. I'm in the whole portfolio. Let's do Airbnbs, and I'm like, that's great, but for me, I tell people slow and steady always works for me. And I'm not saying you can't. There's a niche for everybody, and you just have to figure out what fits your mindset. Because we talked about it earlier. Dave, I was talking about that age, that age. And I tell people, now you go ahead, you don't have no systems, and you jump on Airbnbs and you never manage a property. I promise you, I'll put money on it. Your life will stop in a heartbeat, because it's a different mindset. I mean, you gotta have systems in place. You gotta have your cleaners. You gotta have your repair guys. You gotta have everything already in place when you start doing Airbnbs, because people want you're providing a service, and you provide it on a daily to a weekly basis. So you got to, if you never manage a property, you got to rev up real fast. So I tell people, and you want to get into communals, it takes time to understand that model, and you want to spend enough time learning the rules as you before you start playing that game, so you understand what works for you. So if you're already in the whole business, and now you're looking how to expand that, I would tell you, first of all, watch and repeat what you've already done, and then as you grow and you stabilize, just like in investments, I will never invest in stocks and stuff. My core money, I'm investing in my gains. Anything I've gained, I invest in, I invest with. So as you stabilize your portfolio, you continue to grow, and you wash and repeat that. Then you may take one or two, but don't go overnight and convert everything over to something else just because someone said you can make a lot of money with it, because you'll find yourself in a pigeonhole because now you're learning and exercising at the same time, and that doesn't always work out well. Jamal, you shaking your
Thanks.
head with that.
Yes, thanks so much. Thank you.
And don't get me wrong, it's I mean, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, or you just scrolling through, checking out things or talking to friends, everybody's doing something new. Every 5 minutes, somebody got something new, and I tell people, I'm listening, I'm letting it soak in, and I'm taking some of the nuggets. But I'm not just going to jump on anything overnight, because the moment you do that, it's like you're casting your gift aside to go chase something else. And I tell people, what God puts, the gift that God puts on the inside of you is for you, and nobody else can take that from you. So, and if you take someone else's vision, and I want to say it's perfectly clear because I get it all the time. Chris, I want to be like, I want to be. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't want to take this vision and put it inside of you if it's not your vision, because it'll die. What I want you to do is take the pieces of this vision that makes sense to you, educate yourself on it, tie it up inside of you, make sure that's your vision, and watch it grow. Because if you take my vision and put it inside of you, it's gonna die. No one else can take your vision and put it inside of them. So nobody can steal something that's yours. If God gave it to you, He gave it to you and designed it specifically for you. So you have to figure out what aligns with you and what's going to make you grow. But then at the same time, like Tamika said earlier, you gotta understand how that business structure works, and how it's gonna work for you and not against you. Because I'll tell you right now, as I look forward, if you're not watching the tech sector, AI, and understand how artificial intelligence is going to change the real estate game across the board, looking at the financial markets, these interest rates, looking at what's happening with the economy overall as far as investments, there's a huge gap that's happening. And I talked about it at the social, and I'm saying it again. Do not operate out of fear. Operate out of faith. And then when you're doing that, understand where the everything is going. So look down the road, because those niches are always talking about today. But are you looking at what's happening 5 years from now, and what's going to be a long haul? And I'm going to say this specifically in Charlotte, and then you can chime in right quick before we chime out. But if you're looking at, everybody's telling me that we're in a recession, the economy's slowing down. But I'll beg you, ride around in your local city, wherever you are, because I got people right now watching this in Africa. Ride around and look at the number of cranes that are in the sky. I counted 9 yesterday. 9. And they're all building apartment buildings, not really commercial spaces, but they're building apartment housing. So you chime in, look at what they're doing. So they're building all these apartment buildings for rentals. They're creating rental models. And so I'm telling you, you have to understand and start looking at, what does that really mean for the future? Why is that happening? And how is that going to impact the future? Because these costs are going up, and you've got to be doing something extraordinary, not ordinary, but extraordinary. That's doing something extra on top of your ordinary to keep up with what's going on. So I'm always looking for all the trends and staying up to date on what's happening in the financial markets. I told you early on that I'm not in just the real estate game. I'm in the finance game. And more importantly, I'm in the economics game. And when you're in the economics game, when you're playing economics, you're really getting the opportunity to understand how money works and how to control it. So, anyone want to chime in on that comment?
I just want to take it back to when you said, if you ever talk about finance and economics, have that conversation, that's when things, tap in for you, or that's when things really is like the core of what you need to look at when you jump into any business. And I definitely want to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, that's it. That's that. D, is that not that conversation, D?
Yep, that's what we talked about. Yep.
And that's that one that kind of drives home. So just watch out for upcoming. You're gonna see a lot of things that we're dropping out. Again, we're doing these Tuesday morning fireside chats. They're great where you come and you just ask that question, and it's not just me, but it's a community. I tell people I learn by a community, and I want everybody to win. Then we've also got the coming out on Thursdays. We're gonna be doing these interview sessions where we actually bring an expert in, and we talk specifically about stuff like how to invest with the self-directed IRA account, or We'll be talking about actual dive deep components of, let's look at what communities look like, or again, if you missed the first session, we talked about with Jamal about wholesaling, what that looks like. And my favorite thing is why you need a realtor. So I'll talk about that for all my realtors out there. But again, it's always key about how you grow this business, but also you play in this business. But my rule to everyone is called, everyone watching, whatever game you want to play, know the rules. And once you understand the rules, you'll understand that there's a difference between a checkerboard and a chessboard. Now that's the conversation I have with all my mentees, because I don't want anyone to be playing in a with a chess mindset on a checkerboard. You let that sink in. I don't want anybody playing with a chess mindset on a checkerboard. The boards look the same, but the rules when you're on that board are different. It's all based upon the pawns and what you do on that board. You cannot the moves that you make on a checkerboard is not the moves you make on a chessboard. And a lot of people right now, and I'm talking about that conversation about those distractions. A lot of people out here today are playing on a checkerboard and trying to make chess moves. It does not work. It does not work. So again, know the rules where you are, and the goal is to get to that chessboard so you're actually controlling your moves, and your moves are totally different. And it's an amazing concept. So I talk about that, but upcoming, and hit me up. Tell you those consultations are amazing. If you hadn't had one, we talk about stuff like the same thing we were talking about with D about knowing the rules, but then also how to dive deep into banking, OPM. We talk about all those stuffs, but those are a little bit different because I want to dive deep with you and give you the full brevity of the content. So again, was this awesome? How's everybody feeling this morning? Because we got to chime out. Jamal, how do you feel?
Like $100 million.
Now Jamal is up every morning out riding around doing what? Looking for deals. Am I not right?
Looking for deals. Or I'm walking through the, the neighborhood, and I'll just find something like a commercial building that says for sale by owner, or I'll meet somebody who likes my car and says, "What do you do?" And I say, "I buy land," and they say, "I got some land," or I'll go, wherever the case may be. I'm always telling people what I do.
Did you
Oh,
heard that, D?
yeah,
Started
That's
there
it.
early. Yep, starting early. That's how
He
you gotta
out
do it. You out there hunting. So
every morning. Hey, look, a eagle and a lion do two things in the morning. They wake up hungry. They wake up hungry.
that's right.
Uh, Tamika, how you feeling?
I feel great. I mean, waking up early. I'm not. I'm going to be very transparent. I don't get up this early. I should, but I do not. But I feel very refreshed. I feel like my brain and my soul has been fed from these conversations. I'm revved up. And we all need a refresher and a reset at some point. So I
Yeah.
look at these calls as that for me.
And we didn't even got into we didn't even get a chance to really dive into it. And I'm gonna tell you, there's so much knowledge, guys. With everybody on this call, the backgrounds and the talent. Again, everybody. You got a wholesaler, you got a developer, you got a dynamic female that's doing wholesaling, well, not wholesaling, flipping, and also whole properties. And then you got someone who's getting into the game, but also right now teaching you all the dynamics of the infrastructure of what business setup and structure looks like, and why you need to have all these things in place. It's key. These are all components. So this is that community. Sharon, how do you feel this morning?
Well, I feel reaffirmed that I definitely found my tribe. That's what I got from my first chats in the early beginnings, because I just felt like I was operating by myself. Now I know that I'm amongst other eagles. So I'm like, well, it's time to spread your wings and start soaring. So, but I do know you have to learn before you fall off that cliff. So you definitely will soar and not keep falling on your face.
That's it. And I'm gonna tell you
Hey, Chris, I
again,
got a true story to tell you really quick.
drop it in. Go ahead.
So 2 years ago, I was marketing in Raleigh, and Sharon was on my marketing list. And so she
Wow.
told me she was in Charlotte, and she had two properties that she was renting to this family. And, they was a ratchet family. But she was like, "Yo, but I'm in Charlotte. I'm flipping the house." I said, "Well, I got a partner named Nassar. And, what's the name of the street, Sharon, you was flipping?"
That's on
Yes.
Holland. That's where I met Chris
Yeah,
on
exactly. Holland,
Holland.
exactly. So I sent Nassar over to Holland because he lived around the corner. and then you met Chris, as she said, and guess what? Jamal introduced Sharon to the world.
Wow. See how small that works? See that three, six, three
I didn't
Love
give
separation?
it.
myself credit. I didn't give
I
myself
love
credit, Chris.
it.
And I'm gonna tell you, I walked inside. I walked in so I got like a few seconds. But when I walked inside, so when I met Sharon Holland and I walked inside this house, and she was like, I'm a novice. I don't know what I'm doing. I walked down, I'm like, oh my God, this girl had she first of all she had an eye for details. I didn't have no eye for details when I started. She had an eye for details. She had already basically built the whole space out. She was in the final phase putting together, and she was. Now I'm just saying, Sharon. One thing when I walked in, I saw an eagle that had gotten around some doves in a sense, and she had lost her. She forgot that she was an eagle because she was doing eagle stuff. I was amazed, and all it took was saying, you know what? Let's get around some more people. Let's talk about this. And she grew from that. But I was just so amazed at where she was when she started. And here she was saying that she wasn't really doing it. No, you are doing it. And she was on top of her game. I was like, wow. I was like, I wish I had started. And I walked in this space, and I'm telling you, the house that she had on Holland, it was, I'd say it had to be, but it was one of the biggest shoes I had walked in a while. And I was like, what, just doing it. And then also I was more impressed that she was a female in the game. So all the sisters out there that are thinking about real estate, a perfect example of when I talk about, I'm always highlighting people. I'm always highlighting Sharon because I was amazed that when I met her as a female, just doing this business and doing it with excellence. And she had all the skill sets. All she had to learn was that there were more people out there going through. Because I know when we started talking that day, everything I was telling her about my struggles, she was like, I'm going through that too. And I think that was that not the key point for you, Sharon? Was when we started talking about?
That was it. That was it. And I can't thank you enough, Chris. And I can't thank you enough, Jamal, because you're right. It evolved. Everything evolved. And when it finally came clear, I was like, I am doing the right things. I am in the right space. It was just affirmation after affirmation.
And that's all she needed. And I'll tell you, if you don't know Sharon, over time you'll get to know her. You got to come to the socials and meet up with her. This girl's doing her thing. So I'm excited. And again, she's amazing. And again, everyone on this call is amazing. D, how you feeling? And how's the session today?
Feeling great, man. Every day I learn something. It's a good day for me. Expanding my growth, and so I already started the morning out learning, and I think that's a good, start to the day. I feel great about the day and look fresh, like Tamika said. So definitely, looking
Well,
forward to
awesome.
it.
So look, I'm gonna chime out, but I just want to say the last thing. And D, I'm so excited because we're gonna be talking more about develop. I got a session.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a dedicated session to develop a one-on-one, and all I'm gonna talk about is how to get into development, the four steps you take to get into development, and then we'll do some special training around development. So again, because everybody wants to get from commercial, from residential to commercial, we can be talking about it again. Fireside chat. So when we come, we drop those questions. I drop some nuggets, and we all chime in and try to figure get the answer to that question. Because again, we learn by community, and all of us are bringing so many skill sets to the table. What I will say, look up everybody on this call. I'm gonna drop the information in the chat. You need to be connected with them. You got access to a lot of people, and it's about getting inside that tribe. So I'm excited about it. Again, think big, dream big, be big. I'm chiming out on this Tuesday morning. I'm about to go get it because I got a deal I'm working on. It's gonna shock all of y'all. Jamal, don't forget, hit me up. We got to get the groundwork for that other deal we're working on. So I'll be throwing some information your way this week. I'm on top of it.
Hey,
So I'm
so
out. Y'all enjoy
Y'all
your
be
day.
good.
Have a good
y'all too.
one.
All
All
right.
right.